Is feminism about equality between men and women?
To me, and what I've learned and what a lot of people around me that I think have learned, is it's about equality. It's about equality between women and men, because for thousands of years, patriarchy has been a very prominent thing, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that.
Yeah, that's the unradicalized ideal of feminism that majority of women hold. They're not. Majority of women aren't radical feminists. Like, they're not.
It's a radical proposition to suggest that the history of the relationship between men and women is one of oppressor and one of oppressed.
It's really harmful for women to constantly hear, and this argument goes for a lot of different social movements, especially today. It's really harmful to constantly tell women that they've been oppressed and men have traditionally been the oppressors on a large scale, because it's just generally not true. You have bad people in pretty much every aspect of life, but it's not true on a large scale that men are constantly, or have in history constantly, oppressed women.
How is it not true when feminism doesn't exist because we didn't have the right to vote? We had literally no rights. Yeah. So how is it not true that
if there was a patriarchy
today, yes, I would say things are a lot more even today. But you're telling me there's no patriarchy, but we've had 49 different presidents, and
our system was built off patriarchy.
So don't say that we haven't.
We
had
didn't even get a say.
I'm not saying that there haven't been certain.
But you said it's not necessarily true. Which
no,
it is.
I'm not. I'm saying that in a comparable men and women relationship, men in relationships, we're not oppressing women on a global sense. Okay, yes, legally, that's why first wave feminism, I completely agree with. Anything after that, I do not agree with. I'm glad that we have equal legal rights as to men, but I do not think that men and women are completely tradable in pretty much all aspects of life. But that's what feminism today portrays.
I've been saying this whole time, is that not many people actually, the amount of people who you think believe that is just the people online that you see, the ones who have the influence online of that trait. I'm trying to tell you,
the general population
does not believe that as women, are not third wave feminists. Most women say they're a feminist because it sounds like you're against women to say you're not. Yeah. But we're not saying we're a radical third wave feminist. We're mostly talking about the work that our ancestors and others did to get us where we are today.
You can acknowledge that the fact that we couldn't vote, we couldn't go to school, we couldn't do all that stuff, that has been established, and that has been built up, so women's have they've gotten those rights. But you can't say that there's no oppressor, it hasn't always been like that, because it has. And feminism isn't this thing now we want more rights, we hate all men for what they did. That's not.
But isn't it a problem that is what you see in the mainstream media? I'm not saying that that's the majority of women that believe that, but isn't that a problem that that's what's being portrayed?
Don't you think that the reason that mainstream media is specifically choosing the most radical versions of this is to turn people against feminism in general?
Yeah. Well, you're not seeing that for only feminism. You're seeing it for basically every other social movement.
No, absolutely.
The extremes are always what's portrayed on the internet, and that's never how it's
But Claus, or
the general population, like us, picked off the street, we all agree that it's
so. And why?
What?
But why do you think? Even I'm saying you say that's so. That's a good point you bring up. But how does it hurt anybody? Because it's not like women are going out there killing men because of this oppression. Nothing's happening to men.
I think it hurts your interpersonal. I think it hurts your interpersonal relationships.
Yes, but
actually, there's kind of a long history of feminist terrorism. Andy Warhol got killed by a feminist.
Who?
It's funny that you laugh at a man getting murdered, but okay.
Well, I'm laughing because I want to hear the evidence that it was because he was a man that she was murdering him. In the case of, let's say, even at UC Santa Barbara, we have I don't want to even bring up his name, but you know the incident.
Oh, don't tell. He'll switch it off real quick if you do.
Yeah. You know the incident that I'm thinking of.
Yes,
and
yes.
All I have to say is, when men are misogynistic, it is a lot more dangerous to women than when women are man haters. Their man hating is just internal, and they don't really interact with them, or they just don't care. But when a man violently hates women because he feels like he can't get laid, and they owe me this, they become violent and take it out on women, and they will
It's a very,
do
very,
awful,
very,
horrible things.
very small proportion of men who are struggling with dating
But it's
are
but the
going
point
to
is,
resort
though,
to violence.
The
But
point
they
is, though, woman being a man hater or a radical feminist does not usually incite any violence, whereas when it goes on the other spectrum of men,
I never said that it
that's
did.
but
No,
that's
I'm
when it
not. I was
becomes
implying that
an
you were saying
actual issue of public order.
Yeah, but I think here's a difference, a general difference between men and women. So if, like, let's say two men have a conflict, it's more likely that that's going to result in some sort of physical violence. Whereas when two women have conflict, it's typically not going to get to the level of physical violence. It's going to be emotional violence, though. You're going to see reputation destruction. You're going to see, like, backstabbing. You're going to see. So we've criminalized men's primary method of conflict resolution, which in the past, if two men have a conflict, they'd fucking duel or fight or something physically, and then boom, we fought, cool, we're done. Whereas with women, we have not criminalized the emotional violence that women are going to
These ladies have
take
no
up on
clue at
men.
all. First, to this day, women are not required for selective service. Men are, or else we lose the right to vote. Second, women historically refused the right to vote because it came with conditions they did not want.
No feminist is for selective service for anybody.
It doesn't
Feminists
matter.
aren't saying
It doesn't matter.
That is
it does
something
matter.
but
Feminists aren't saying, like, yeah, men need to do the selective service and just not women. No, they have a problem with that too. Like, you guys, that's not what.
But-
don't.
But
a
here's
terrible
the
point.
difference
That's a
is, right?
terrible-
When we're saying that feminism is about equality, feminism is clearly not about equality. Feminism, in its most generous, if I can give it its most generous definition, is a woman's advocacy movement. Now, there's nothing wrong with women's advocacy, but let's not sit here and lie that feminists will fight for equality if said equality comes to the detriment of women. For example, equalizing the draft. It would be equality to equalize the draft, but feminists are never going to fight for that equality.
Because they're not fighting for.
You
we're
only
fighting
want
for us-
preferential. You want benefits.
Fight for yourself.
That's what.
If
Yeah,
you wanna
that's
get
something
rid of
that,
the
like,
draft,
a
fight.
man, I don't know, man, whatever you guys
Like-
call it. That's something that you guys should handle.
All I have-
Feminist was focused on helping women.
I think
So it's not about
I think
equality
it
then,
definitely got like misconstrued the original meaning of like feminist. Like I don't think I would consider myself a feminist because I don't know too much. Like obviously, like I'm not like
You're a first-rate
degrading.
feminist.
Yeah, I'm just saying like I don't know much about the movement itself. Like I'm just saying like feminist definitely has gotten misconstrued, especially the radicalness of like everything that's been happening. But I think that like generally someone, like a woman, wouldn't like be like, oh yeah, she would want equal rights, but she wouldn't be like, oh, like kill all men. Like that's not like
That
or
that
like
is literally a hashtag, though.
I know that is, but
women
that's
will-
that's a
not
hashtag.
serious,
It's on social
though.
media.
But also,
It's
can't
like-
you say the same thing?
I don't think
you guys
anyone's-
were talking about earlier how the boys went up and saying "fuck women." Like that's portraying just a small radical spectrum of the right wing.
Yeah.
But like feminists are like you were mentioning how you think it's not fair to
true, yeah.
group all feminists in like being crazy, but it's on both ends. Like
Good point.
Yeah, you selected
radical.
No, I
It's the
agree.
Hold
radical
on, Mike
feminism.
Davis has a very kind message for you,
$100.
Kiko.
People are still talking about feminism in 2023? I thought that joke expired. Actually, I'm all about it. Let's get another women's march going. Matter of fact, let's
Oh my
do it
God.
every Saturday so these plus-size fatties can drop a pounds and free the nipple.
Mike Davis.
No, but that
okay,
is a good
free-
point. You guys brought up an outlier
Yeah.
to make an argument against the red pill community. We can
Yeah.
easily do
I
that
was
for
saying,
but, like,
feminism too.
My point was just specifically to the media showing that. I mean, I'm not talking like I wasn't even mentioning conservatives in that like type of thing. Like that wasn't what I was talking about. What I was talking about was specifically to the instance of like this whole kill all men or these feminists are all super radical. Like I'm saying specifically for that. Is that not selection bias? Like they are specifically choosing things that would turn the average man against feminism. Like that is the point that I was making. I'm aware that they can do that for both sides, like obviously. But I just think that you take the most radical feminist, and yes, she's saying kill all men. She's not going out and stabbing men. You take the most radical woman hater, he is. He is quite literally.
Well, I don't think that's fair to like.
I don't think that's a fair
comparison.
comparison.
So I don't think kill all men is the right thing to say at all. But I don't think it's fair, or like to say it's right. But the difference is what she's kind of trying to say is if you do a hashtag kill all men versus like those kids saying, or a hashtag kill all women, what is actually possible? It would never be possible for women to go out and kill all men. We would never have the means or strength to do that. What is possible is for men to go out and kill all women. So that's why it is.
Wait,
I'm not saying it's
But
right.
you can't just say kill all men because you don't mean it.
No, I'm not.
Like you can't physically able to.
And it
kill
loses
guys.
respect.
One at a time. Go ahead.
You can go first.
My first statement was I don't think it is right. Okay, I'm not.
No,
I
neither
don't
of
think
it
it's
is right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they should be allowed to say something like that. Like it's just a joking matter. But the reason why I was trying to clarify what she was saying is the reason why there is though a difference between saying kill all men versus kill all women is because one is theoretically possible while the other isn't. Because if men wanted to team up, and take out the woman species, they could. They have the means to do so. They are the ones in power. I'm not saying what happened.
This is such a hypothetical. Like it just doesn't even.
They have the strength, definitely. They have
I don't know if
the
you guys
human
cannot
strength.
deny that men, if they wanted to, I'm not saying it would happen, but if they wanted to, they could cause severe harm on the woman species, where vice versa is not possible unless we just start poisoning our water system.
It is happening. It is happening, though. It is happening.
Are we talking about plastics in the water system?
No, I'm just saying like it's not. It just.
What episode?
I don't. It's a. What's it called? There's a terminology in philosophy for this, why something can feel icky and it could be exactly reversed and not feel icky anymore. It's because
so just trying to bring things back here really quick. So when it comes to the whole feminism, it's about equality. Feminism is not about equality. It's a women's advocacy movement. They will secure equality if said equality comes at the benefit of women, but they will not pursue equality in realms or scenarios where that equality does not benefit women in some way. So it's not really a true equality movement in the same way that it would be for egalitarianism. Because also, like, I don't want to linger on this for too much longer because we need to move on to a couple things. But if you look at, for example, you often hear arguments about the wage gap. Men get paid more money. But like when women are like trying to secure these certain jobs or these certain fields, you hear it with STEM. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But women are it's not about across the board equality. Women are fighting for the cushy, safe, air-conditioned office jobs, the high-paying jobs. You don't see like women in the streets. Yeah, we want, for example, like there's all kinds of gaps. There's a workplace death gap. There's a workplace injury gap. 93% of workplace deaths are men. That seems pretty bad. Why don't we equalize that?
equalize the death that happens.
He's saying that in terms of the type of labor that men and women go into, in terms of physical labor, it's much higher for men to enter into those types of careers compared to women, and women are not fighting to enter those.
At the end of the day, biologically, men and women are different.
Yeah,
like,
no one's denying that.
But feminism can only exist when it comes to like workplace equality. You can only really have feminism when
it's a stupid point.
When there's air-conditioned offices.
It's a stupid point. Men and
no,
women
it's a legitimate point
biological
because women aren't fighting for bricklaying jobs.
First of all, they are.
No, hold on. Let me just finish this. When there's a fucking gnarly storm and the electricity goes out and somebody has to go out there in the storm at 2 a.m. and it's snowing and it's below freezing, it's gonna be a fucking guy that's gonna go.
No one is denying that there is biological differences between men and women. That's not how our system is built to stand. That would mean that if we have a bunch of women who are going into doing those careers, or we can have a bunch of men now who want to become more teachers, nurses, those positions, cleaners. That the reason why our society is set up this way, because that's how it breaks down.
_love_you_but_wrong donated $99.
He's got a point with this one.
Seeing history as oppressive to women is the opposite of reality. History has pedestaled women at the cost of men, giving them access to its resources without earning it. Men will always be CEOs, presidents, and leaders because we must to earn your love.
Oh, that's sweet.
So, this is actually.
It's a good point.
Let me just address this really quick. So he makes a good point. So, I would argue that when it comes to the mating dance, when it comes to courtship, men are not particularly preoccupied with the resources that women bring to a relationship. So if women, like you hear songs, Destiny, we talked about this last stream. Destiny's Child, Bills, TLC, No Scrubs, what's the Cardi B, Up. I don't like broke men don't get no pussy. If this is the attitude that women have, is it any surprise that there is a greater mating pressure on men to achieve financially, to achieve when it comes to their careers? So that extra pressure on men to elevate themselves in the workplace is going to like if there's a mating pressure, like if you as a guy can't get a date unless you're successful, then doesn't it make sense that men are more likely to occupy these higher positions of power because it's a prerequisite for attracting women, whereas the opposite is not the case?
I 100% agree. I have never seen a man turn down a woman because she is broke.
Exactly.
That's
what I was
really
gonna say.
I would turn down a man for being broke 100%.
Your guys' problem. Maybe if you guys cared more about what the profession of your wife was doing. All I hear men say all the time, yeah, we don't care how much my woman makes. I don't care how much I don't care this, I don't care that. Well, maybe if you guys cared a little bit more, it'd be more of an even playing field. So how about stop saying?
That's not the role that
they're providers. They're the providers.
Yeah.
I will do anything to be a housewife. You know, I went to college and I regret it. Like that's my point of view. It doesn't mean that it's the correct thing. I just want to make that clear. It's just my point of view. I wish I didn't went to college. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about being the most smart. I don't care about any of that.
But that's the point, though, is that he's saying that he's the same men who want these trad wives that they want to stay home are complaining that they have to get these jobs. But like, if you want your wife to stay home and be a trad wife, you would have to have that career anyways.
They're not complaining that they have to have these jobs.
He just said yes. That's what
they're not complaining. They want to. No. They want to like fight for being the best because they'll get the best woman.
He said it's not fair that men have to have a good career to be a predisposition.
No,
it's just the reality.
He's not saying that it's not fair. He's just saying that that's the reality of how the dynamics between men and women work, and that's what women value. Is
so if he's not saying it's unfair, what's the point of bringing it up? If he has no problem with it, that's a fact. Okay, what's the point?
But the basis behind it is because of the patriarchy. Like that's the argument behind it, is that the patriarchy is oppressing women.
That means it's a patriarchy, because if you're saying that we benefit off of that, that means that you guys don't see it as a real job to stay home with kids all day and have to be up there.
That's not what anyone's saying at all.
It's not like women just to get to stay home and sit on their ass because men have to work.
No, not at all.
It's an incredibly hard.
No, it's a really hard job actually. Absolutely. And I think feminism, or I don't know, like
it's actually the feminist movement that said no, women
should work.
It's below you to be house mothers.
No, it wasn't. Okay, the reason why that was happening was because women weren't allowed to work, so they were getting married and then they were getting harmed by their husband and had no out because they weren't allowed to work. So that's the real reason why we
of course.
Well,
that was also if a woman is if a woman is getting harmed, of course, like leave that man.
Yeah. That's why we have the right to work. That's why we fought for the right to work, because before they couldn't leave that man because they had nothing to do. They had nowhere to go. They had nowhere to
but now we have the internet. We have so many things that we can do more easily thanks to men. Unfortunately, it's thanks to men that women can have OnlyFans and make so much money, and make our job and make our jobs way easier. Like feminism for me is just
But girls not working, that was like history. We've obviously evolved now, and it's your choice. If you're a girl and you want to have a job, go have a job, but in no way or shape or form is it shameful to be a housewife, or I think that's important, and I think that's also really needed.
I never said that. I don't know why that's even. I never said that. I want to be a housewife.
But feminism has tried that.
Yeah, look, just
feminism.
Yeah.
Third wave feminism.
Creco. Okay. Look, last thing on this. Look, I just think that if we're teaching this patriarchy theory, men are oppressors, men are oppressors, women are oppressed. If you teach a whole gender that you are oppressed and the person to blame is this other gender, men, you're not really teaching women to really look towards men and be like, you're basically teaching women to have contempt and hatred towards men. Maybe it doesn't extend all the way to hatred, but in some degree there's a narrative in your head like, oh, well, historically your class as men, your group as classes as men oppressed us, and we are oppressed. How dare you? If you're the oppressed class, are you supposed to feel any positive feelings towards the supposed oppressor class? No. So that's like where
do all black people hate white people because we're taught that they oppressed us? No. Are there some that take it that way? Yes, and that's with anything.
That's the victim mentality that gets you nowhere. It just keeps you in that loop that it takes you literally nowhere.
Victim mentality.
You know, instead of grabbing, let's say, women, instead of being like, okay, men are against me, let's see how I can, with my like intelligence, how can I get this to work for me?
I don't know a single woman who thinks that way though in real life. Like, get off the internet in real life. I don't know a single woman who's like, men are against me.
I know some.
It's in every single university in this country. Patriarchy theory is like mainstream feminism.
We go to a liberal ass school, and I've never been taught that.
I think
but you said you didn't take like a feminist studies class.
I have taken feminist studies class on my own.
They don't teach patriarchy.
They from like what was written, but they didn't teach me I should hate men because men are oppressing me.
No, but
and this is what's going on. No, I wasn't taught that at all.
Obviously, they're not going to say you should hate men. They're not saying that. But by extension, by proxy, if you start basically preaching what is in essence a conspiracy theory, that there's this cabal of men, this conspiracy theory, the patriarchy theory. By the way, theories are just that, theories. It doesn't mean it's an actual thing. You're, again, teaching women to view men as the oppressor class and to view themselves and other women as oppressed. Again, you cannot think positive if you believe truly that you are oppressed or that you are part of the oppressed class. You cannot feel positive things towards the oppressor class.
That's why he was saying like, oh, women want just the best of the best, like, you know.
Was I saying that? I don't know.
No, like women just want like all the goods and no bads, you know, like. And
in regard to what? I feel like women deal with a lot more bullshit in relationships than men do.
We do deal a lot with a lot of we do deal with a lot of bullshit. I do understand that. And like same with the like, I don't know, feminism is very weird for me just because like I don't see like women supporting, I don't know, in women's basketball. Like they have all this women's basketball and nobody watches it. Women should be there supporting women, and I don't see that at all. And then they want the same wage pay as like the.
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, to be honest, like yes, it's good to acknowledge.
Last thing, and I do have to move on.
Okay, it's good to acknowledge it happened. Like it's history, we can acknowledge it, but we don't need to still be taught that like we are oppressed now. Yeah. Yes, we could be oppressed in history, but like I don't think that like nowadays or anything like that. And back to like the women's NBA, like I'm a girl, I would rather watch the NBA than the women's NBA. Like I think
like everybody,
there's just some things,
that's why they make the
there's
money.
Just some things that you'll never be able to escape, and like that's like I that's just okay. Like it's just.
Can we just? Can we
that's
all?
My point. That most people think like that. That's literally quick. My only point is that most people who might attach that name to them have the same beliefs that you do.
Go ahead.
I think we're confusing history and the present, and we're getting them intertwined way too closely with how we speak on certain subjects.
Alvin Sam donated $99.
Hey, good to see you, Alvin Sam.
Kiko, you are exemplifying why women are better seen and not heard. Your boyfriend should sincerely reconsider his relationship with you because you are a reflection of him. You complain about the patriarchy, but women expect men to lead. Let that sink in.
I want my man to lead me. What the hell are you talking about? I said it's wrong to say we never had a patriarchy in our world. I'm not saying today that it still exists and we're still oppressed. The only thing I had an issue with is when she said that it's not true that there used to be a patriarchy in.
I think there is a patriarchy.
Not you. I'm talking about. She was saying there, and she said something before. And that's how we got on this whole tangent. That's my only point. I'm not saying that we are super oppressed today and there's no equality in our system between men and women. That is not my point. My point is you guys think that everyone is radical feminists, which is just not true. Like majority of feminists aren't radical. They're first wave and are just happy that we had people to fight for our right to vote and our right to work and shit like that. That's what most people think of when they think of feminism. They don't think about kill all men and
I think patriarchy theory is kind of a radical theory. Again, you're pitting men
today, or that never existed?
You're pitting men and women against each other. You're saying that men oppressed women, when in reality it was powerful people that oppressed poor people.
And who
essentially,
was the powerful people?
Both men and women, because
women had
because
you
you
can't be powerful if you can't even own land. So how was a woman powerful if she couldn't?
Women could own land.
Well,
before we had the right to vote?
Women could own land. And guess what? It's different. Like, people try to make this comparison with
Name
race.
one woman of power before women had the right to vote. Name one woman who was in power. In America.
But you realize, like, when
not queen,
when there's
whatever,
yeah.
but in
But
America.
you do realize the family unit, right? Like, men get married to women, and then they have children, they have sons, they have daughters.
Okay.
So,
what's your point with that?
Oh my God,
I don't get your point. I'm so serious. Like, what are you talking about?
Men being related to women does not make them not dislike women or have internal like things or prejudices about them. Like, if you think women,
I don't think men who are with women are gonna hate the women that they're around. Like,
I agree with that. They're not gonna hate like their daughter. They're not gonna hate their mother. But that doesn't mean that they don't hate other women.
Maybe they don't like.
Hot take: men are more oppressed than women.
I know.
Didn't you just say we're not supposed to be oppressed?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
That is, in fact, a hot take.
That is hot.